A very good evening to all my dear students. Welcome to today's session. And this is the second session for chapter number 9, which is audit of items of financial statements. So I can see Aman, Dhyanesh, Jyoti, Sankaran, Kanhaiya, Khushi have already joined. So a very happy Sunday to all of you, as Dhyanesh is saying. And I'm happy to see that on Sunday evening also, you are ready for a lecture on auditing and assurance subject. That is very good. Dhruvi, Pritika, Alok, a very good evening to all my dear students. So I hope that in the last session, whatever topics we have covered with respect to chapter number 9, I am expecting that you all have gone through the material in the module, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll quickly, just in 5 minutes, I'll quickly revise with you as to what we have covered in the last session, and then we'll be starting with the fresh topic, the new topic for today, which is what? Borrowings. Okay. So we started this chapter with by understanding the various kind of assertions. Hana? I hope the topic assertion is now clear because we have discussed this topic in detail. Hana? बहुत detail में discuss किया and a number of times also. So we have discussed the various assertions with respect to the income statement captions, which are what? Occurrence, completeness, cutoff, measurement, presentation, and disclosure. I've asked you to read all these examples as a homework, which are given here. I hope the same has been done. Okay? These examples. Then the balance sheet captions comprising of the assets, liabilities, and the equity balances, and the assertions are existence, completeness, cutoff, valuation, rights and obligations, and presentation and disclosure. Okay? Then we started with the first item of the financial statement given in your module, which is what? Share capital. And we discussed about the various audit procedures. So basically in this chapter, what we are discussing is that the management, when the management is giving certain information in the financial statement, the management is declaring, asserting a number of things. All those things we as auditor, we are verifying. And how? By performing various audit procedure. So how this chapter moves is basically in order to check the, let's say the assertion here is what? Existence, completeness, or valuation with respect to share capital. What all audit procedures the auditor can perform. Okay? So with respect to the existence, completeness, valuation of share capital, we have discussed all the audit procedures. Shares issued at a premium, where we discussed section 52 of the Companies Act 2013. Shares at a discount, which is as per section 53 of the Companies Act. Sweat equity shares, which is section 54 of the Companies Act. Okay? And here, students, I would like to remind you again that for all those who are having the old printed copies, please do not refer to that. Please refer to the module which is available on the ICI BOS knowledge portal, right? So there was one or two students who were saying that, ma'am, this is something different in their module because they are using the old copy. So please be alert to this thing. Then we also studied about reduction of capital in terms of section 66. So basically kya karna hai, that with respect to all these items of financial statement, right? Whatever compliances the management is required to follow in terms of accounting standards or the Companies Act or the various presentation disclosure requirements as per Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. So basically that you have to write, that auditor needs to verify that. Then we discussed about the disclosure requirements, whereby I told you that very, very important is what? Shares, the shareholding pattern of the promoters of the company, right? This I have left. This I'll be taking up in the next session, right? Reserves and surplus, whereby we discussed about what? Revenue reserves and capital reserves, right? And the various audit procedures and the relevant disclosures given by Part 1, Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. Okay? Thereafter, we have discussed just a little about borrowings. So today we'll be starting with borrowings, which is one of the balance sheet item. Okay? So tell me, students, what are borrowings? In the balance sheet, borrowings will appear on the asset side or the liability side? Quickly send in your replies. And Aman, with respect to your doubt, which E point you want that, please clarify, like which point you want me to repeat again, and remind me to repeat this point at the end of the session. Okay? So now borrowing. So it is a liability side item. Okay? So what are borrowings? Students, borrowings are basically the monies that are made available from the external sources, right? Like loan from banks, right? Or maybe through issuer of debentures or through public deposits, right? And unless and until the borrowings figures, they reflect correctly in the financial statement will not reflect a true and fair view. So auditor will have to perform his audit procedures to verify whether the borrowings amount is appearing the way it is required as per the applicable accounting financial reporting framework, right? So just tell me what all documents come to your mind when I asked you, let's say the borrowing amount that is appearing in the books of A Limited. A Limited is our client, is let's say 10 CR. Okay. Now, what all documents will you consider when you are verifying such amount? So do not look at the module or the information given here. So I'll write it here. So tell me, okay, Pranav is saying loan agreement, which is absolutely correct. Okay. The first and foremost, the first document that comes to my mind also is what? The loan agreement. Then others also, please send in your reply. Yes, Dhyanish, these are what? The financial obligations. Okay. Then bank statements. Okay. Okay. So list of lenders, say I can say schedule of loans, whereby I can ask the management to give me a bifurcation of long-term and short-term loan. Okay. Then external confirmation. Khojema is saying external confirmation, and please tell me the relevant SA number also. Yes, confirmation from bank. Pranav, absolutely correct. Priyanka is saying loan agreement. Alok is saying minutes of the meeting. Absolutely correct. Hana? Whereby such loans are what? Authorized. है ना? और बताओ लोन को अगर वेरीफाई करना है, अभी आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट एनी पर्टिकुलर assertion. Tell me what all comes to your mind. है ना? See, the purpose for which loan has been taken, whether it has been utilized for that purpose, that is also very, very important. है ना? Yes, external confirmation is SA 505. Absolutely correct, Jyoti, Kojima, and Dhyanish. ठीक है? Covenants. Ram Nivas have used the term covenants. Tell me what is meant by covenants. Covenants. What is meant by covenants? Quickly, students, I need answer. Try to make this session as interactive as possible. And why I am asking you people to answer? Because in the exam, students, you may get any item of the financial statement which might not be, we might not have covered that in the session. Okay? Because this topic is what? Audit of item of any item of the financial statement. Na? So it might be possible that you may get a topic which is not mentioned in your module, right? Or which is not which we have not discussed. Then you should be able to, write the answer. Hana? And that will be possible if here only you start thinking about what is to be written. Okay? Yes, Kanhaiya, we can do that. Legal agreements. Okay? So what is the purpose? Okay? Now let us try to understand these. So with respect to the borrowings, the board meeting whereby the new loan, if any, that has been taken during the year, that must have been approved. So in order to see whether the loan that has been taken is authorized or not, auditor will go through what? The minutes of the board meeting. Okay? Covenants is what? The terms of the loan agreement. Okay? We will discuss it just a minute. Then auditor will consider the significant debt commitments. What are significant debt commitments? Like what are the terms, interest rate, है ना, repayment कब करना है. So significant debt commitments, है ना, major loans, है ना. So whether these are what approved or not, right? Then auditor will go through what? He will verify the agreements in order to see whether the recorded loan and the amount that is appearing in the loan agreement is, he'll tally the amount that is recorded in the loan account and the agreement, the loan agreement, right? Auditor will also verify as to the borrowing limits should not be exceeded. So whatever has been authorized, only that much loan has been taken. It should not exceed what the borrowing limits. And as many of you has said, ma'am, confirmation from banks or financial institution. So auditor will send what? Confirmation request to the banks and financial institution in order to confirm as to what is the loan that has been taken by the client, right? Students, also the leases and hire purchase, these are a kind of financing arrangements, right? Here the auditor will be considering what the underlying contracts as to the conditions, the repayments, whatever are mentioned in the contracts, whether these have been followed by the company or not. When any debenture is issued, what document comes to your mind in case of debentures? Quickly tell me. What? So there will be what? Debenture. Tell me, with respect to debenture, what documents come to your mind? So debenture trust deed, whereby everything with respect to the issuance of such debentures, like the terms, the date of redemption, the borrowing restriction, compliance with covenants. Covenants is what? Terms. Terms of such debenture trust deed. So auditor is going to what? Verify that, right? And when the debt is retired, that is when the debt is repaid, auditor will also verify that simultaneously there should be the discharge received on the asset. What is meant by that? Let's say there is a loan of, let's say 10 CR, right? And an asset has been kept as a security. So when this loan has been repaid, this asset, the charge over this asset should also be what? Discharged, right? So is it clear? Right? And auditor will what? He will obtain what? Written representation from the management with respect to the fact that all the loans that has been taken, all the borrowings that has been taken during the year has been duly accounted for and presented and disclosed in the financial statements. Clear? Simple hai, logical hai na? Very logical. ठीक है? Now, auditor will obtain what? Schedule of the loans, whereby he will obtain a schedule of short-term and long-term loan with the debt outstanding that at the end of the previous year, that is, I can say the opening balance, plus the new debt or the renewal that has taken place during the year. And then he'll be comparing it with the repaid amount, and then he'll compare it with the closing balance that is appearing in the financial statement, right? Students, also, you all know that auditor need to be alert all the time. So he needs to be alert to any evidence that he may come across, which may tell the auditor that there is certain additional debt which management has not disclosed. What all documents he can refer? See, it might be possible in the minutes of the meeting, some loan is there which management has not disclosed to the auditor. The contracts, he will go through the contracts, he will send external confirmation to the banks, and the subsequent cash disbursements. Like subsequent cash disbursement is what? After 31st March. Let's say the auditor is conducting the audit for financial year 21-22, right? So after 31st March 22, if any subsequent to this date, there are any cash disbursements, auditor will also consider that. Okay? And again, review subsequent transactions after the period end in order to check what? The cutoff assertion. The loan that has been taken during the year should have been considered during the year only, right? It should not happen that such loan is being taken into account in the next year financial statement. So auditor will perform what? Cutoff procedures with respect to this. Okay? Okay? Now, direct confirmation procedures. You may get a question that what are the direct confirmation procedures with respect to borrowings? Hana? 3-marker question can always come. So auditor needs to obtain he needs to send confirmation request with respect to all the borrowings that the company has taken. And he need to ask for all the information, like what is the interest rate, what are the due dates, any collateral security, or what are the interest, right? So auditor needs to consider that. In case the replies are not received from the banks, he should not ignore it like that. He should send what? Reminders. And he'll compare the information in the confirmation with the information that is present in the books. And in case of any differences, he'll ask for what? He'll ask the management to reconcile, and he'll ask for what? The supporting documents. Simple hai na? Logical hai na bahut? Tell me, is it logical or not? ठीक है? Covenant का मतलब क्या है मैम? प्रणव, I told you ना, terms of loan agreement. Terms of agreement. Covenant. ठीक है? I'll take you through the module to tell you as to where is this word used. है ना? Now valuation. Very simple. See, tell me, okay, now you tell me what points come to your mind if I ask you to verify the valuation assertion with respect to borrowings. See, Kanaya, with respect to this point, the auditor will have to see various points, Hana, the agreements, when is the loan to be considered, the accounting policies that the company is following. Okay? Now tell me valuation. With respect to valuation, so auditor will have to consider the various accounting policies, the method of recording that the company is following, and whether that is appropriate and applied consistently. Okay? Further, he need to compare the loan balance and the loan payable with respect to loan agreement, because in the loan agreement it would have been mentioned na कि कितना installments देना है ना, किस date पर देना है. So whatever has the total amount of loan, it must have been mentioned in the loan. The amount that has been paid, he can reconcile it with the various dates of repayment that are mentioned in the loan agreement. ठीक है? Any interest, discount or premium on redemption. So with respect to debentures, auditor need to consider that he will recompute one of the audit procedures. यहाँ पर हम क्या कह रहे हैं? Auditor will, let's say this is what he will inspect. So here he'll recompute. And as you all know that discount on redemption, these are what amortized, so auditor needs to consider that. In case of foreign currency loan, auditor will consider the effect of AS 11. Quickly tell me what is AS 11. Quickly tell me. See, if any loan is taken in foreign currency, exchange rate. So auditor will consider as to whether in terms of AS 11, which is effects of changes in foreign exchange rate, whether that loan has been restated at the amount as is required by AS 11. So auditor needs to consider that. Okay? Is it clear? Okay. Now, when the auditor is going through the agreement, just now visualize that you are going through the loan agreement. Okay. Tell me what all comes to your mind. Loan agreement hai aapke samne, whereby it is mentioned that so and so company has taken a loan of, let's say, 10 CR during the year, and these are the reinstallments, these are the schedule of repayment. This is the interest rate. What else can you confirm? Okay, no problem if you have not done. So AS 11 is relating to effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. So if any loan has been taken in foreign currency, so whether that has been restated at the value as is required by the applicable FRF. So I hope it is clear. Okay. So auditor will see whether the various covenants, that is terms of agreement, whether the company has complied with such agreements or not, with terms or not. Like if it is mentioned that half yearly payment will be done of the, let's say, the interest or monthly interest will be paid. Okay? And the repayment, the principal will be paid on a yearly basis. So whether that has been done or not, if let's say 20% of the loan is to be repaid in the first year, so whether that has been done or not. And students, it might be possible that if the company has not complied with any of the terms, covenants that is mentioned in the loan agreement, the loan agreement may contain a clause that if the company is unable to comply with any of the covenants, that is, let's say in this case, the company is unable to pay the interest for a continuous period of 3 months, then the company will have to pay at least 50% of the loan immediately. That the debt will be classified as what? Current. अभी तो ये लॉन्ग टर्म लोन था ना फॉर 5 years. So there might be certain terms like this. So auditor needs to consider that. Also, if any of the provisions of the loan agreement, any of the terms of the loan agreement have been waived off by the bank or the financial institution, सिर्फ मैनेजमेंट के कहने पे भरोसा नहीं करना है कि बैंक has waived such thing. Auditor will what? Auditor will obtain confirmation from the bank or the financial institution. Clear? Due dates को consider करना है. Further, a very important point, students. See, all these points na, as such you will not get a question ki valuation पे पूरा note लिखो, या maybe with respect to valuation you may pick up 7-8 points and you may write it in the answer, but you will not get ki entire loan pe you need to write the answer. But yes, see, just these individual points na, you might get MCQ or true fall with respect to these individual points. So each and every point is important. तो ऐसे मत सोचना कि ठीक है starting is 7-8 points we have understood, आगे we are not understanding. There are a number of points in this borrowings part also and other parts also which you will come across when we will proceed with this chapter. So please do not leave any point. ये सोचकर कि I have learned 8 points, that is sufficient for a 4-mark question. नहीं, ठीक है? So in case of the long-term loan, if any of the installment is falling due within the next 12 months, then that needs to be disclosed properly. So if there is a loan for 5 years, but within the next 12 months, like 31st March 2022 के next 12 months में whatever installment of this loan is falling due, that need to be shown in the parenthesis in the later part of this topic. Now you will see it is mentioned in the parenthesis. Parenthesis is what? In the brackets, the management, the company needs to mention that what installment is falling due within the next 12 months. Okay? So basically the installment of long-term loan, which is basically current, right? An auditor needs to verify whether that is correct or not, right? Restrictive covenant, you will get a word of restrictive covenant. So what is this? So basically with respect to any debt agreement, there might be some restrictive covenant. Just for example, debentures may, the covenant is what? Term. And restrictive, it means let's say if any loan has been taken of 10 CR, there is a term in the loan agreement that now for the next 1 year, the company will not take any fresh loan. Or if any debentures have been issued, the company will not go for, let's say it is mentioned for mergers and acquisition. So restrictive covenant, the auditor will consider that. Okay? With respect to where the asset has been given as security, auditor will consider what? The creation of the charge and the registration of the charge with the ICI or with the ROC. If the security falls below the outstanding loan, right? The security that has been given, if that falls below the value of the loan that is outstanding, then only that part of the loan will be considered as secured, which is equal to what? The market value of the security. अगर आपके asset की जो value है that has fallen below the outstanding value, then consider what? The market value of the security, और उतना ही part आप किस में दिखाओगे? Secured में. Why? Because in the presentation and disclosure part, students, we will see that the management has to mention in the loan what is the secured amount and what is the unsecured amount. So there this will be more clear to you. So security will be only to the extent of the market value of that security, right? Auditor will examine the hire purchase or the lease agreements, and if the borrowings are from related party, then your AS 18 or AS 24 compliances will be considered. Then one of bill discounted hai, bill negotiated hai, whether the disclosures are properly or not. One of you were saying that, ma'am, article of association and memorandum of association को भी read करेंगे in order to see the authorizations and all. So yes, auditor will consider that. Auditor will see whether the purpose for which loan has been taken, whether that has been met or not. If the company has accepted deposit, then RBI directives need to be followed. And this point, ठीक है, सेक्शन 180, सेक्शन 185 एंड 186, ठीक है. सो स्टूडेंट, सेक्शन 180, 185, 186 as such you need not do this in detail for your audit subject, but what is required for this topic I'll definitely brief it to you. So what is section 186? Section 186 is loans and investments made by the company, right? Section 180, it is restrictions on power of board of directors. 185 is loan to directors. Okay. So with respect to the borrowings, for example, in section 180, there is a restriction on powers of board of director, that is with respect to the various matters that are mentioned in section 180. The approval of shareholders is also required. Board of directors cannot on their own, let's say, sell off any of the part of the undertaking. The shareholder approval will also be required. So it says that auditor will have to consider whether the requirements of section 180, 185 and 186 have been met or not, right? And with respect to the disclosure part, we will be going through the module. So tell me whether it is clear. Chitala, your doubt will be clear when we will be doing the disclosure part of borrowings. Okay, quickly tell me any query if you have. I'll definitely take you through the module. So many of you are saying, ma'am, please show us in the module where is everything mentioned that we have discussed. So we will do one thing. First, we will go through the module with respect to the topic that we have covered in borrowings, and then we will start with your disclosure requirements. ठीक है, बहुत simple है, but I told you in the last session also, जनरल आंसर्स को लर्न करने पे अपनी एनर्जी वेस्ट मत करना, बिकॉज ये सब बहुत लॉजिकल है. Once you go through this chapter, I'm 100% sure कि आपको keywords, है ना, key audit procedures you will be able to remember. Because why? Because by so far you already have an understanding of what all the essays, है ना, you already have the understanding of the accounting standards, you already have the understanding of the Companies Act, है ना. अगर किसी की classes नहीं हुई है, you will be having those understanding, and also we are discussing in the class. तो जब आपको ये सब पता है, तो general answers के लिए why are you wasting your energy and time, है ना. Just go through the module and you will be able to see कि अच्छा जो points आपको already पता थे, only that is what the auditor is going to perform as the audit procedures. ठीक है. So board meetings. So now many of you were saying, ma'am, how to summarize this chapter? So I told you that either you can make the summaries here, the way I have made in this Word file, okay? Or the other option is you highlight the keyword. So in this topic, I'll tell you as to how to highlight. To review the board meetings for approval of the lending agreements, if any new loan has been taken, whether the same is authorized, and significant debt commitments, okay? Then he'll see the loans recorded. They should be in agreement. They should agree with the terms that are mentioned in the loan agreement, right? And he should see that the borrowing limits are not exceeded, right? SA 505. So this is the keyword. Why? Because now you know that SA 505 is what? External confirmation. Hire purchase lease again, and the underlying contracts. With respect to debentures, the trust deeds, the terms, the dates of redemption, the borrowing restrictions and compliance with covenants. Covenants, I told you, is what? Terms. When the debt is retired, then the discharge is received on assets. Obtain, you can write here what? WR. That all the liabilities which have been recorded they represent what? A valid claim. ठीक है? So this is the way you can highlight the keywords, or you may make a summary here. ठीक है? On the left side. Now, with respect to the completeness assertion, auditor will obtain schedule of short term and long term, whereby it is mentioned what? Opening plus new or renewal less repaid, then the closing. And he'll consider if he receives any evidence for additional debt. How? Through examining the minutes of the board meeting, the contracts, the confirmation, the subsequent cash disbursement, subsequent toward the end of the financial year. Uske baad bhi, next year maybe if any cash disbursements are there, auditor will consider them and he'll see as to whether they relate to the year under audit or to the next year. Trace the closing balance as per the schedules and the जनरल लेजर. ठीक है, तो इसको कैसे लिख सकते हो आप? स्केड्यूल को कंपेयर किससे करना है? जनरल लेजर से. ठीक है, सब्सिक्वेंट ट्रांजैक्शंस को देखना है इन ऑर्डर टू सी वेदर द ट्रांजैक्शंस आर रिकॉर्डेड इन द करेक्ट पीरियड. ठीक है, डायरेक्ट कंफर्मेशन प्रोसीजर्स में व्हाट इज द कीवर्ड हियर? ऑल बोरोविंग्स के लिए लेना है एंड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दैट ऑल इंफॉर्मेशन आपको ऑब्टेन करना है, लाइक द इंटरेस्ट बैलेंस, interest rates, due dates and everything. ठीक है, reminders in case of non-reply, compare the balances as per the confirmation and the accounts, reconciliations in case of differences and supporting documents. ठीक है, valuation के लिए we have seen accounting policies and methods of recording. देखो, now तो you must be aware कि accounting policies के लिए क्या देखना है? Whether these are consistently applied, whether these are appropriate and consistently applied. तो you need not, you need not as such learn these words. अब तो आपको पता है ना अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज का क्या होता है, whether these are consistently applied, appropriate है या नहीं, in case of any change proper disclosure has been made or not. लोन बैलेंस एंड लोन पेबल को अग्रीमेंट से चेक करना है, रिकम्प्यूट करना है इंटरेस्ट लोन, कॉम्प्यूटेशन ऑफ एमोर्टाइजेशन ऑफ प्रीमियम और डिस्काउंट. फॉरेन करेंसी लोन के केस में क्या देखना है? AS11. So one of the students was having a doubt, so read this with me. For foreign currency loans, check the closing exchange rate used and verify the computation of the restatement of foreign currency balances outstanding at the year end in terms of what? AS11. So whoever was the student, I hope it is clear. Read the provision. So basically this bullet is showing as to when the auditor is going through the agreements of loan, what all he can verify. So test that the entity has complied with the covenants, right? If there is any provision which is not complied with, whether that the debt is classified as current. Hana, I told you that there might be a clause that if for a continuous period of 3 months, the interest has not been paid, then immediately 20% or some amount is to be repaid. To current ho gaya na wo. In case of any waiver, obtain the confirmation, waiver of any condition or terms or any provision. Long term, short term का schedule लेंगे. Installment. So where the installment of long term is falling due within the next 12 months, the auditor will have to disclose it. Example in parenthesis. Parenthesis is what? This bracket. है ना? Or by way of a footnote, verify the correctness of such note. ठीक है? Examine the debt agreements, restrictive covenants. Restrictive covenants, I gave you example of what? For the next 2 years, the company will not further take any loan, या mergers acquisitions में नहीं जाएगा, या कोई sell off नहीं करेगा undertaking. So any kind of terms that have some restrictions for the company. Important terms auditor needs to consider, है ना? With respect to the creation and registration of charges, है ना? Where the asset is given as a security, right? Then where the value of the security falls below the amount of loan outstanding, examine whether the loan is classified as secured only to the extent of the market value of the security, right? Hire purchase me, you need to consider the hire purchase agreements. Then related party may AS18, whether the liabilities with respect to bill discounted, negotiated have been disclosed and reflected as per the account financial reporting framework, article of association, memorandum of association के according, whether the amount borrowed is within the borrowing powers, and with respect to the various restrictions on the company, section 180, like restrictions on the power of board of directors, that is they need to take approval of shareholders with respect to various transactions. Section 185, where the loans are given to director. 186, where the company is having any loan or investment is been made by the company. Then what are the various provisions that need to be followed. The purpose for which the loan has been taken, it should be used for that. And in case the company has deposited public deposits, then RBI directives. So you can always write na ki deposits agar hain, to whether the RBI directives are followed or not. है ना? तो summarize करना कितना easy है इस chapter को, and summarizing is going to definitely help you all. ठीक है? Now with respect to disclosure requirements. So I hope your doubts are clear. ठीक है? Now with respect to the disclosure requirements, this line is, see students, this line has been reported. Ensure whether the following disclosures as required under Schedule 3, Part 1 to the Companies Act 2013 are made for each amount disclosed under each of the following headings. So auditor will see whether management has disclosed the borrowings in the manner as is required by Schedule 3. So what is the manner? This is the manner which is given in a module. Auditor will also see whether the same has been followed or not. So long-term borrowings, and then followed by what? Short-term borrowings. Okay. So long-term borrowing shall be classified as what? Bonds or debentures, term loans from banks and from other parties. Deferred payment liabilities, the deposits, loans and advances from related parties. है ना? बहुत simple है ना? Long-term maturities of finance lease, other loans and advances, right? Further, if you remember, I told you that secured, unsecured portion भी show करना है, तो borrowing shall be further classified as what? Secured and unsecured for each class. If any of the loan has been guaranteed by the director or others, that aggregate amount will also be disclosed. Who will disclose it? Management. Who will check whether the same has been disclosed? Auditor. Okay. Where is it given? Schedule 3 mein. Okay. Bonds and debentures. So with respect to this point is with respect to what? Redemption of bonds or debentures. So this point basically says that if any bond or debentures are being redeemed, है ना? So the date of such redemption will be mentioned in the descending order. If you remember, we did this when we were doing the disclosure requirements of share capital also. The same point. है ना? So that is the redemption of the debentures which is following at the farthest point will appear first. Then जो सबसे late में redeem होना है, that will come, then followed by जो उससे पहले होना है, then followed by जो उससे पहले होना है. So let us have a look at this line, then you will be able to understand it properly. Bonds, debenture along with the rate, interest, particular of redemption shall be stated in descending order of maturity. है ना? वहां पर था ना, if the securities are convertible into shares, then such disclosure is required. Starting from the farthest date of redemption or conversion rate as the case may be. You may get a true false. है ना? It may be mentioned ascending order. Right? So as I've told you that each and every clause that is mentioned is important. You cannot leave it कि मैंने पहले के 7-8 points learn कर लिया. Why? Because for MCQ, for true false, anything can come. ठीक है? Then particulars, if any redeemed bonds or debentures can be reissued, that will be mentioned. Terms of repayment of term loans and other loans will be mentioned. If there is a default in repayment of loan or interest, then what is the period and amount of loan? Period as on the balance sheet date, that will also be mentioned. Okay? So it is mentioned, Kanhaiya, the purpose of the loan must be mentioned in the agreement also, na? Okay? Other long-term liabilities, it shall be classified as your trade payables, others. Then short-term, and you will see that the disclosure requirements with respect to short-term borrowings is almost the same with respect to what? Your long-term borrowings. So short-term borrowing shall be classified as loan repayable on demand from bank, from other parties, from related party, the deposits, the others, loans and advances. Further secured, unsecured में दिखाना है, nature of security बताना है, guaranteed by director है, तो that aggregate amount is to be shown. In case of any default, then period and amount. And see, this is the point. Current maturities of long-term borrowing shall be disclosed separately. You may get a true and false that the current maturities of long-term borrowing shall be disclosed by the company in the long-term borrowings, which is what falls. It will be shown where short-term borrowings. Okay? Okay? Short-term borrowings. And this point is related to which point? If you remember, I told you that in the disclosure, I'll be showing it to you. So the point is this and this disclosure requirement. Current maturities, that is any of the installment of the long-term loan which is due within the next 12 months shall be disclosed separately. And where is it shown? So it is shown in short-term borrowings. So I told you may get a question ki long-term borrowings mein dikhate, so this is not correct. Okay? Okay? So is it clear? Is it clear, students? Farthest date, Dhyanesh, means so it whose doubt is this? Kojema, it will be shown in the notes to accounts, no? So I hope the borrowing part is clear to you. And as I've told you that notes I'll be taking, like I'll be taking the notes of balance sheet together. Like after completing all the topics of the balance sheet, all the items of the balance sheet, we will do the notes that are given. So as of now, I'm leaving these notes. We'll be starting with them in the next session. Okay? So tell me, is it clear, students? बहुत सिंपल है, but general answers मत बनाना इनके सबके, क्योंकि बहुत सिंपल है ना, आपने पढ़ा हुआ है अकाउंट्स में, लॉ में, या आप पढ़ोगे अकाउंट्स लॉ में, एंड इन द सेशन आल्सो वी आर डिस्कसिंग. तो बस यू नीड टू एटलीस्ट लिसन टू दीज लेक्चर्स एंड गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल once or twice, and then this chapter is going to be a cakewalk for all of you. I am sure about that. Okay. So now one of the topic with respect to liability side is what? Trade payables, which is given in the later part of this chapter. But here I'll do one thing. I'll start with the asset side, with trade receivables, the debtors, and in the next session, as like I'll follow the sequence that is given in your module. Okay? And you will see that the verification with respect to trade receivables and trade payables is almost the same. Okay? So we'll start with what? The audit procedures with respect to verification of various assertions of debtors' trade receivables. Yes, यतिराज, you are absolutely clear. पता होना चाहिए ना कि कौन सा लोन है जिसको नेक्स्ट 12 months में पे करना है, दो इट इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म. ठीक है. So shall we start with the next topic, which is what? Trade receivables. After this topic of trade receivables, we will be doing 5 MCQs relating to the topic that we have covered so far. So trade receivables. Now tell me, do not look at the module. Tell me, trade receivable, your debtors amount figure come from which corresponding figure of P&L? Tell me. Trade receivables, है ना? Yes, credit sales. ठीक है. So when the auditor has to verify various assertions with respect to trade receivable debtors, first the auditor will have to take a comfort with respect to credit, the accounting, the recording of what? Sales. So he will check what the internal control with respect to sales. If sales are duly accounted for, properly recorded in the books of accounts, it will help the auditor to get a comfort with respect to what? The accounting, the recording of what? Debtors. So same way, when we will be doing trade creditors, the trade payables, that is the creditors, You will see that auditor will have to consider the internal control with respect to what purchases, है ना? Because अगर let's say sales ही ठीक से record नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो corresponding effect in the debtors is going to be what? Incorrect. ठीक है? So auditor will consider the internal control with respect to the sales. ठीक है? Now what all auditor will consider? Sales के लिए we are going to discuss it in detail when we will be starting with the P&L item or the income expense statement captions. But tell me what comes to your mind कि internal control over sales कैसा होना चाहिए? Yes, absolutely correct. रामनिवास, कन्हैया, ज्योति, ध्यानेश, प्रियंका, यतिराज, चिताला, प्रीतिका, ज्योति, खोजेमा, प्रणव. So tell me, see, the internal control with respect to sales should be such that only bona fide sales are recorded as what? The credit sales. That is only valid customers, Hana? And the customers to whom goods are given on credit, they should be what? Approved customers. ऐसा नहीं किसी को भी credit पे goods दे दिया and later on they become what? Bad debt. है ना? Approved customers after considering the credit worthiness of that customer. ठीक है? For the students, see when the credit sales are recorded. So party का account, let's say Mr. Ram is there. ठीक है? Now such amount, let's say of 5 lakh, it will be there in the books of accounts unless and until either such amount is paid by Mr. Ram or the same is written off as bad debt after the approval of the appropriate authority. ठीक है? So sales का internal control should be such that only valid sales should be there to approved customer, and the system should be such that once the account of a debtor has been debited, it will be there in the books unless and until it is paid or write off. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपने पहले राम को डेबिट कर दिया फिर राम को ही क्रेडिट कर दिया. That is merely showing what? Book entries, है ना? This should not happen. Further, there should be what? Segregation of duty. The person who is recording the sales, the person who is collecting the amount from the debtors, the person who is sending the reminders, there should be what? Segregation of duties. है ना? Further, tell me और कैसा control होना चाहिए? Yes, external confirmation भी हम पढ़ेंगे Dhyanesh in detail, that external confirmation should be taken. If any of the creditors is not, if any of the debtor is not making the payment, then there should be system of sending the reminders. Follow-up का system होना चाहिए. Proper legal action should be taken, है ना? And if any of the debtor is outstanding for a long time, then appropriate action should be taken and the provision should be made if it is required. So this is the basic about what the internal control with respect to sales should be. If the internal control with respect to sales is strong, the auditor is going to get a comfort with respect to the various assertions of debtors. Okay? So auditor will perform what? Test of controls with respect to the sales transactions. After checking the internal control with respect to sales, auditor will determine the nature, timing, extent of his audit procedure with respect to various assertions with respect to what? Debtors. ठीक है? Now tell me, है ना? तो ये हमने पढ़ा that bonafide sales ही होने चाहिए. Bonafide is what? Valid. Approved customer को होना चाहिए, properly record होना चाहिए. Once recorded या तो आपका payment आना चाहिए या write off होना चाहिए. Segregation of duty होना चाहिए. Collected on time. If it is not, then reminders and legal actions. Balances को regularly review करो. Follow up system होना चाहिए. And if it is required, तो provisioning होनी चाहिए and aging schedule भी the management should make. ठीक है? Now, based on testing of the internal control, auditor will decide what the nature, timing, extent of the substantive procedures. Now tell me, debtors का balance आ रहा है in the books of A Limited. Let's say the total balance is, let's say 1 CR. ठीक है? Now apply your minds, है ना? and tell me what all documents come to your mind. कैसे कैसे आप debtors को existence, completeness, valuation सब कुछ check करोगे. Quickly tell me, या अभी आप assertions के लिए मत सोचो, अभी आप सिर्फ ये सोचो कि debtors को आपको verify करना है. What all documents come to your mind? And students, I'm telling you again and again, start churning up your minds. Start, thinking with respect to various items, because you may get some surprise item in your exam. And if you have done this exercise here in these sessions, then answering to that question is going to be a cakewalk for you. Okay? So start applying your mind and please quickly send in your replies. क्या क्या documents आपके mind में आते हैं? ठीक है, sales invoice. Alok is saying. Ganesh is also saying sales invoice. ठीक है. External confirmation SA505. ठीक है. Written representation. ठीक है. If external confirmation is not received, okay. Aging report, है ना? Age wise as to how old the debtors are, है ना? Because अगर बहुत old हैं, then why the provision is not made? What is the issue? Why the payment is not been received? Why are they outstanding for such a long time? ऐसे तो नहीं है that this is a fake debtor. Then, ठीक है. Authenticity of invoices. Pritika is saying, Priyanka is saying external confirmation. Hemlata is saying sales invoice. Correct. ठीक है. So what all procedures? So with respect to existence assertion, auditor will consider that invoices are recorded only once. There should not be any duplication. है ना? Why? Because if there is duplication, है ना, sales, एक ही sales को आपने twice add किया है, so this will what inflate the profits, ना, है ना? तो management may do it with an intention to inflate the profits, so auditor will make sure, he will verify as to the invoices should be recorded only once. And once the sales entry has been done, the receivable balance should be automatically recorded, right? He will obtain the aging report. I tell you, age of the debtors. हाँ, कितना पुराना debtor है? अगर बहुत पुराना debtor है, why the debtor is not making the payment? है ना? Auditor will consider that. Is there a need to write off such debtor? Is there a need to make some provision with respect to that debtor? Auditor will consider that. And whatever balance is appearing in the report, auditor will compare it with what the balance appearing in the debtor's account. Now, when the debtors are realized, when the payment is received, it will be considered what invoice wise. For example, from Mr. Ram, there are 5 invoices of Mr. Ram with respect to payment of, let's say, 5,000 each. Okay. So if when Mr. Ram is making payment, he may make a payment invoice wise, that this payment is for invoice number 1, this is for invoice number 2. If payment is not made invoice wise, for example, 20,000 is received, so it will be adjusted what chronologically, date wise, है ना? Based on first in, first out. Like first invoice will be considered as to be repaid, right? Then second, then third. And if the payment received on account, that is, let's say, out of this 20,000, 13,000 is received. Okay? Auditor will obtain a confirmation, or the company will obtain a confirmation from the debtor कि debtor Mr. Ram बताओ भाई ये payment किसके against है. Simple. ठीक है? In case of large balances which are due for a long time, auditor needs to ask the reasons from the management and the justification as to why such large amounts are outstanding. They are not been received for a long time. Logical है ना? बताओ. Yes, related party के लिए भी हम discuss करेंगे. Correct. Yes, Kanhaiya. Auditor will consider matching the amounts, and the point that you are saying, this we will be doing when we will do what? The sales ka verification. Direct confirmation procedure. Quickly tell me what is the SA number? So the SA number is SA505. External confirmation is the name of the SA. ठीक है? देखो बहुत लॉजिकल है. हमने ऑलरेडी SA505 चैप्टर नंबर 3 में पढ़ा है. But very quickly, let us just revise as to what is contained in direct confirmation procedure that the auditor needs to perform when he is verifying what? The existence with respect to debtor balances. बहुत easy है, story की तरह सुनना. Auditor will contact the customers directly and ask them to confirm the various terms, the amounts, and he'll send the confirmation with respect to all significant account balances as at the period end, जो भी significant है. अब significant कौन सा है? Auditor will apply materiality, his professional judgment, everything. And with respect to the smaller amount, he may select it on a sample basis and he'll send confirmation request with the consent of the entity. If the management is refusing the auditor, he'll consider whether the grounds are valid or not. If these are valid, auditor will perform alternate procedures. If these are not valid, auditor will consider the effect on the nature, timing, extent of his audit procedures to be performed, and whether he'll consider the reliance on the written representations taken so far. Hana? So Alok is saying, ma'am, I'm finding it fully logical and I'm finding it easy. That is good. Okay? Then auditor may obtain the balance confirmation with respect to the balance as on the balance sheet date, that he may write a letter, confirmation request letter to Mr. Ram, that what is the balance of my client in your books as on 31st March 2022, or some other date which should be close to the balance sheet date, and in consultation with the company, the management. What can be the form? With the balance, without balance, or auditor may mention, Mr. Ram, the balance in books, the balance in my client's book, your balance in my client book is, let's say 40 lakhs. Tell me what is the balance that is appearing in your books, with the balance or without balance, whereby the auditor will not be mentioning any amount. He'll just be writing as to what is the balance. So this is obviously more preferable, because why? Because no balance is mentioned. So chances of manipulation are very less. Okay? Method, the C. Auditor, see, if I'm the auditor of A Limited and before the trial balance is been given to me, before the final list of the debtors is given to me, usse pehle hi, if I tell the management of the company that dekho jo bhi balances of debtors exceeding rupees 10 lakhs hai na, I'll be sending all of them the confirmation request. Chances are there na ki management will make sure ki in balances mein to koi problem na ho. Hana? So that is why it is, the next point is that the method of selection of trade receivable that is to be selected for external confirmation process, that should not be revealed to the company until the trade receivable ledger is handed over to the auditor. Hana? Logical? The list of trade receivable which the auditor has selected will be given to the entity for preparing the request letters. But though these letters will be prepared by the company, the management, but auditor will maintain a strict control with respect to the correctness of the address, the proper dispatch, and that the confirmation letter and any undelivered letter will be returned to the auditor. है ना? External confirmation का क्या definition था? Written response directly to the auditor. Remember, SA 505 में chapter number 3 में पढ़ा था ना? So directly it should be received by the auditor and the undelivered letters also. Okay? Because you have seen कि positive confirmation में and negative confirmation में there can be what? Exceptions or no response. No response in case of positive can be there. So undelivered letter should be returned to the auditor. Why? Because auditor should be able to know whether if the letter is not been received, then it might be possible that the debtor is a fake debtor. So undelivered letter should also come to the debtor directly. Okay? In case of any discrepancy, when the confirmation is received, the replies are received. In case of any discrepancy, ask the company to investigate and reconcile. If no reply is received, alternate procedures perform करने हैं. For example, let me just explain this to you with the help of example. 40 lakhs का debtor था as on 31st March 2022. In the next 3 months, auditor found that 40 lakhs payment is received from this Mr. Ram. So though the confirmation was not received, but cash received subsequently from Mr. Ram, if 40 lakhs mil gaya hai, so it will be an evidence na ki haan, 40 lakh actually existed as at the balance sheet date, and perform a detailed analysis of the transaction, of the entire transaction that let's say the external confirmation is not received. Auditor will perform examination in depth. That is, jahan se sales hua hai, वहां से एंड तक the entire trail auditor will consider in order to see as to whether it is a genuine sales or not. ठीक है. Students, positive confirmation may be Pranav. Positive confirmation or negative confirmation में this is not the difference that one is with balance, one is without balance. Please. Positive confirmation क्या होता है? Where you ask the other party to reply whether or not they agree with the balance. तो आप उनको क्या लिख के दे सकते हो कि tell me whether 4 lakhs है या नहीं, है ना? तो 4 lakhs है या नहीं, they need to reply. और you may mention what is the balance. But negative confirmation में आप क्या लिख के दे दो? That please reply only if you disagree. ठीक है प्रणव, is it clear? So please don't get confused, and I always tell you कि आगे वाला topic learn करने में पीछे वाला सब मत भूल जाना, है ना? Keep on revising whatever we have done. In case of related party, if the trade receivable is related party, review the collectability, whether such transaction is authorized, whether the value is reasonable and at arm's length price. What is arm's length price? The price at which you would have sold this, you are selling this product, your goods to unrelated party, whether whether you are selling such product to the related party at the same price, arm's length price. ठीक है? Other than sales, any amount like any interest income should not come in revenue from operations, that is in the sales. It should not come. Auditor will consider what? Analytical review procedures. Quickly tell me the essay number. Quickly tell me the essay number, then I'll take up your doubts. So abhi what we are discussing the existence, है ना? तो auditor will perform various trend analysis. He'll compare the data with the earlier years. In case of any unusual trend, he'll make the inquiries. So these are what analytical review procedures. Now tell me what is the essay number. Ayushi is not correct. Others also please reply. So Ayushi is saying, ma'am, this is happening. That आगे वाला पढ़ रहे हैं, पीछे वाला भूल रहे हैं. That is happening because you are not revising what you have done so far, है ना? So अभी तक अमन ने करेक्टली आंसर किया है, खोजेमा ने करेक्टली आंसर किया है, चिताला ने करेक्टली आंसर किया है. That's it. So this is essay 520. ठीक है? And students, I like to repeat here that write the correct essay number in your exam. नहीं आता, confusion है, गलत ऐसे कोट मत करना, है ना? तो if you have learned, it is very good. Write the correct essay number. Priyanka, Pranav. ठीक है? So this was with respect to existence and direct confirmation procedures. Easy है ना? बहुत logical है, पर पढ़ना पड़ेगा. ठीक है? Now with respect to completeness. Completeness is what? Whether all sales are included. That is, there should be no understatement or overstatement. Cut off. Remember that all the sales should have been recorded in the correct period. है ना? ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि यहाँ पर जो sales हुए, this is my cut off date. This should not happen. जो यहाँ पर मेरी sales हुई है ना, that are appearing here. या जो मेरी sales यहाँ पर effect हुई है, that are appearing here. तो cut off procedures. ठीक है? And completeness, that all sales that should have been shown in the income side have actually been reported. आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस खोजे माँ. आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस क्या होता है? जिस रेट पर आप अनरिलेटेड पार्टी को कोई गुड प्रोडक्ट बेच रहे हो, उसी रेट पे यू आर सेलिंग इट टू द रिलेटेड पार्टी एट एन आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस, है ना? Now what are the audit procedures with respect to verifying the completeness assertion? So I need answers from all of you. Tell me, क्या दिमाग में आता है? क्या ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स ऑडिटर परफॉर्म करेगा इन ऑर्डर टू सी कंप्लीटनेस, है ना? कट ऑफ. We have discussed it when we were doing what? When we started this chapter and discussed the various kind of assertions. Quickly send in your replies. So see, keep in mind this diagram. अभी हम क्या completeness and cutoff check कर रहे हैं ना. तो यहाँ पर what I am saying is, so this is my cutoff date. So what is the what auditor wants to confirm that the transaction, the sales transaction that has happened here should not have been accounted for in the next year. या जो यहाँ पर हुआ है, and if they belong to this year, it should not come in the year under audit. ठीक है? So what will auditor do? Based on the operating cycle, auditor will select few transactions of the last, let's say 5 days. है ना? And he'll check based on the operating cycle, based on revenue recognition, whether such transactions should have been recorded in the current or the period under audit or the next year. Same way, यहाँ पर भी 5th April तक, let's say auditor will take the invoices if the operating cycle is for 5 days, let's say, and auditor will see कि ये last year में आना चाहिए था या यहाँ पर आना चाहिए था. So auditor will consider the invoices during the last few days. Where if such invoices are included in debtors, है ना, if invoices have been issued and debtors में include कर लिया है, then goods should have been dispatched and it should not be lying with the company. है ना, आपने debtors में include कर लिया है उसको, invoices have been raised, then the risk and reward should have been transferred. That is, the goods should have been dispatched and not lying with the company. And vice versa. That is, if goods have been dispatched prior to the date of the prior to the period end, then the invoices should have been raised and debtors में उसको include कर दोगे. Why? Because the risk and reward has been transferred now. Then the invoices should have been raised and included in the debtors. ठीक है? Same way, goods dispatched after the period end, है ना, then it should not be included in the invoice in the period under audit. फिर तो वो next year का हुआ ना. So basically, based on the operating cycle, based on the revenue recognition, auditor will consider कि जो sales last, let's say 5 days में हुआ है, that whether they pertain to the year under audit, and same with next year में भी जो first 5 days में हुआ है, whether they pertain to the year under audit or that year. ठीक है? So the sales should not be understated. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that financial year 2021 and 22 का जो sales यहाँ रिकॉर्ड होना चाहिए था वो next year में हुआ है, फिर तो understatement हुआ ना. And ऐसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए जो next year में account for होना चाहिए था वो आपने यहाँ पर रिकॉर्ड कर दिया, that is overstated. Is it clear, प्रियंका? ठीक है? So cut off क्या होता है? that correct accounting period में रिकॉर्ड होना चाहिए. ठीक है? प्रियंका, is your doubt clear? ठीक है? Then see, auditor will select few invoices and compare with the supporting documentation whether auditor will obtain what? A schedule of all the trade receivables, receivable report, and he'll select a few invoices and he'll check what? He'll check that in detail कि correct amount पे record हो रहे हैं ना, correct customer आ रहा है ना, correct date आ रहा है ना. ठीक है? प्रियंका, is it clear? Auditor will match the invoice. See, अभी हम क्या चेक कर रहे हैं? Cut off कि whether it pertains to the year under audit or not, completeness है या नहीं, all transactions जिसको रिकॉर्ड करना था वो ही आई है ना, जो सेल्स आई है वो इसी ईयर की है ना. तो जो भी शिपिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं या जो भी डिस्पैच डॉक्यूमेंट्स है, ऑडिटर विल चेक दैट विद द डेट्स दैट आर अपेयरिंग इन द invoices. Auditor will assess the bill and hold sales transaction. What is bill and hold sales transaction? See, students, there may be arrangement between the client and the debtor that this client is providing certain discount or incentive to the debtor. ठीक है? If they make an early payment, कि if they make early payment, that though the goods are lying with the client only, if the third party, the debtors are making any early payment, they'll get any discount or incentive. तो पैसा तो आ गया है, but the goods are still lying with what? With the client. So see, assess क्या करना है? Bill, that billing has been done, and hold sales, that the stock, the goods are still been held by the client. Try to understand the name. Bill and hold sales. तो आपने बिलिंग तो कर दिया है, बट द स्टॉक इज लाइंग विद यू. सो इन दैट केस एग्जामिन द सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स. ठीक है. रिव्यू द रिसीविंग लॉग्स. रिसीविंग लॉग्स मीन्स log is what? Record. Receiving log means sales return. ठीक है. So if any large amounts of sales return are there after the balance sheet date, तो ऐसा हो सकता है ना that in order to inflate the sales, जिससे कि profits भी inflate हो जाएं, मैनेजमेंट ने क्या किया, यहाँ पे 5 CR की सेल्स वैसे ही दिखा दी with the debtor, and in the month of April next year all these 5 crores are what? Sales return. यहाँ पर तो प्रॉफिट्स इन्फ्लेट हो गए ना. सो ऑडिटर नीड्स टू कंसीडर दैट. रिव्यू द रिसीविंग लॉग. रिसीविंग लॉग क्या है? सेल्स रिटर्न का रिकॉर्ड. इनऑर्डिनेटली, अनरीजनेबली लार्ज अमाउंट ऑफ कस्टमर रिटर्न्स तो नहीं है. रिव्यू द प्रोसेस ऑफ डिस्काउंट्स एंड इंसेंटिव्स एज पर कंपनी पॉलिसी. ऐसे तो नहीं है रिलेटेड पार्टी को ज्यादा डिस्काउंट दिया हुआ है, एट आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस नहीं है. रिव्यू द क्रेडिट मेमोज, वेदर दे आर properly authorized and whether they pertain to the correct period. So what are credit memos? So basically these are the documents issued by the client, whereby let's say earlier 10,000 was payable by any of the debtors, and the company has issued a credit memo ki this is for what? 1,000 rupees. कि now you need to pay only 9,000 rupees. तो ये ऐसा ये reduce क्यों किया है? What is the reason? Whether these are authorized or not? Whether correct period है नहीं? So let's say that आपने कोई 10,000 का stock बेचा, the client, है ना? And 10,000 का invoice has been raised. Now there was some defect. So the company has given a credit memo to the client to the debtor कि ठीक है 1,000 rupees कम पे करना. ठीक है. So the client debtor is required to pay what? 9,000. So if such credit memos are there, whether these are what? Properly authorized and whether they pertain to the correct period. In case of any such deduction in the bills, check the reasons and the correspondence. ऐसी थोड़ी ना डिस्काउंट आप किसी को भी दे दोगे. ऐसी थोड़ी ना पहले आपने लिखा कि 10,000 पे करना, अब आपने 5,000 का क्रेडिट मेमो इशू कर दिया. ऐसे तो नहीं है that this is a related party. So auditor needs to consider all that. ठीक है. Tell me, is it clear with respect to completeness? Students, we will definitely go through the module. है ना. पहले एक बारी let us just look at the summary that I have made, then I'll take you through the module. Let me just have a look at the queries that you are sending, that then we will be moving further. हाँ, sampling करना पड़ेगा पार्थ सारथी. Sampling in case of large amounts, तो outstanding amounts which are material, auditor will send what? Confirmation to all the debtors. He'll check all those debtors in detail. In case of small balances, auditor may go for audit sampling. Yes, GST portal per auditor can always check. We will do that when in the next session we'll be discussing about sales runout. Okay. Okay, is it clear? So, Aman, with respect to credit memo, there is a doubt with respect to credit memo. So basically, these are the documents which are issued by the seller to the buyer, deducing the amount that the buyer owes to the seller under the terms of earlier invoice. जैसे मैंने आपको क्या बोला, पहले 10,000 का invoice raise हुआ था, later on 1,000 rupees के लिए क्या credit memo हुआ, that you will pay us what? 9,000 only. Maybe there was some delay in delivery or there was some defect. तो credit memo, so return of goods के लिए या pricing dispute के लिए these may be issued. Alok, please do not mention wrong essay number. Students, I'm repeating it again and again. Audit sampling का 540 थोड़ी ना है ना. If you write a wrong essay number, obviously marks deduct होंगे. तो इससे अच्छा तो आप मत लिखो. Whatever you are writing, mention the correct essay number ना. ठीक है. Is it clear? So Khojema, with respect to this, auditor will have to see the revenue recognition. ठीक है. Is it clear? So I'll do one thing. I'll first take you through the module before starting with the valuation, and Then after the break, we'll start with valuation. So trade receivables may we have seen key auditor needs to carry out test of control for checking the effectiveness of internal control over sales at a part of debtors audit procedures. ठीक है. So ये सब देखना है. We have discussed कि bona fide हो, approved customer हो और properly recorded हो या तो cash में payment received हो या responsible official से write off हो. Authority of responsible official is what? Write off. ऐसे थोड़ी ना कोई भी write off कर देगा. प्रॉपर बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर से ऑथराइज होना चाहिए इन केस ऑफ अ कंपनी. ठीक है. आफ्टर परफॉर्मिंग टेस्ट ऑफ कंट्रोल ओवर सेल्स, द ऑडिटर विल डिसाइड अपॉन द प्रोसीजर टू बी अप्लाई टू वेरीफाई डेटर बैलेंसेस. तो एग्जिस्टेंस के लिए क्या देखना है, देखो हाउ टू मार्क. इनवॉइसेस कैन नॉट बी रिकॉर्डेड मोर देन वंस, है ना. रिसीवेबल बैलेंस ऑटोमेटिकली रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा. ठीक है. देन एजिंग रिपोर्ट लेना है. ट्रेस द बैलेंस विद द रिपोर्ट एंड द जीएल. रियलाइजेशन देखना इनवॉइस वाइज है. इफ नॉट देन क्रोनोलॉजिकली फीफो बेसिस पे होगा. इफ ऑन अकाउंट है देन whether the company has obtained confirmation. लार्ज बैलेंस है लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए, रीजन एंड जस्टिफिकेशन बताओ. ठीक है. डायरेक्ट कंफर्मेशन प्रोसीजर, दिस वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इट. आई एम गिविंग इट टू यू एज अ होमवर्क, है ना. बहुत डिटेल में मेंशन है. एंड व्हाई इज दिस इंपॉर्टेंट? यू मे गेट अ एमसीक्यू, ट्रू फॉल्स, anything out of this, है ना. or you may get a direct question, 4 mark question, that direct confirmation procedure कैसे auditor will perform with respect to balance debtors confirmation. ठीक है. ठीक है. we have done this. रिलेटेड पार्टी है तो ऑडिटर विल सी दैट कलेक्टेबिलिटी है नहीं, ऑथराइज्ड है या नहीं, रीजनेबल है नहीं, आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस पे है नहीं. नो अदर थिंग शुड कम वेयर अंडर द सेल्स. सो लाइक अदर इनकम एंड एवरीथिंग. एआरपी एनालिटिकल रिव्यू प्रोसीजर्स के लिए बात कर रहा है ऐसे 520, है ना. ठीक है. Then with respect to the completeness, so auditor will what? Cut off procedures that it should not to be understated or overstated and all sales should have been included. So for this, invoices issued during the last 5 days, है ना, that is which have been included in the debtors check, that the goods should have been dispatched, and ensure that all the goods dispatched prior to the year end, they should have been included in debtors. Ensure that no goods dispatched after the year end should have been included in the period under audit. ठीक है. रिसीवेबल रिपोर्ट लोगे, एजिंग चेक करोगे, सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंटेशन चेक करोगे, शिपिंग लॉग से शिपिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स, आपका डिस्पैच लॉग इज व्हाट? रिकॉर्ड. तो इससे क्या आपको डेट्स कंफर्म हो जाएंगे ना कि कब स्टॉक गया है ना. In order to see the correct accounting period. Bill and hold sales, मैंने आपको बताया that billing हो गई है, maybe because the client is giving some discount or incentive to the third party for making any early payment. तो उस केस में क्या करना है? See, if there is a situation where the company is billing the customer for the sale despite still retaining the goods on site, known as bill and hold, है ना. बिलिंग कर दी है लेकिन सेल्स को होल्ड किया हुआ है. Examining the supporting documentation. Receiving log is what? Log I have told is record, and receiving is when sales return is made. Company has recorded any inordinately, unreasonably large amount of customer returns. Why? In order to inflate the profits. Process of giving discounts, है ना, same होना चाहिए company policy में. And review the credit memos or sample basis whether these are authorized, correct period है या नहीं. ठीक है. कोई भी डिडक्शन अगर बिल में हुआ, व्हाट इज द रीजन एंड द कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस. ठीक है. सो ठीक है. इज इट क्लियर? सो अभी वी विल डू वन थिंग, वी विल टेक अ ब्रेक ऑफ 10 minutes हियर, एंड आफ्टर द ब्रेक वी विल start with the valuation topic. After valuation, disclosure is left, and thereafter we'll be starting with, we will first discuss the MCQs and then the next topic. ठीक है. So we will take a break of 10 minutes here. Students, I hope you all are back after the break. And okay, Aman, I'll take up your doubt with respect to sweat equity shares at the end of the session. Now we were discussing what trade receivables. Now tell me, students, when I ask you about the valuation of trade receivable, valuation assertion, what comes to your mind? Valuation में आप क्या देखोगे? Quickly send in your replies. So whether the provision for bad debt, whether that has been appropriately made or not. Okay? So auditor will review the company's process to derive the allowance for doubtful accounts. He'll compare what is the method of providing for the depreciation and compare it with the last year, whether that method is appropriate. He'll obtain aging report, list of debtors under litigation. See, he'll obtain what? Aging report, ki kitna old hai debtor. If there are certain debtors which are under litigation, disputed hai, compare it with the previous year. Last year bhi tha kya? He'll identify as to the debtors accounts which are doubtful and whether the provision is to be made. And if management has not made any provision with respect to those debtor, auditor will ask the reasons from the management as to management why you have not made the provision. And if the dispute is there, auditor will perform what? Further testing. Like he'll ask for the papers of litigation. He may take any expert opinion if it is required. He will discuss the matter within internal legal team of the organization, है ना? So very logical. Valuation के लिए allowance का देखना है, aging report लेना है, then litigation है क्या? Litigation है, तो he will do what's further testing. If auditor identifies, after scrutiny, he identifies that there are certain which are doubtful for a long time and provision is to be made, but management has not made the provision, he'll ask the management as to why the provision has not been made. ठीक है? Then appropriate rate होना चाहिए for providing the provisions. And then these are talking about what? Analytical review procedures, like schedule of movement of bad debts, provision, debts written off, bad debt to sales ka ratio current year mein, previous year mein, and auditor will compare that. And if any bad debt has been written off as, any debtor has been written off as bad debt, it should be approved by the appropriate authority like board of directors in case of a company. ऐसे थोड़ी ना accountant write off कर देगा, ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है ना कि accountant have received the payment और लेकिन books में उसको write off कर दिया, तो it should be by what? Approved appropriate authority. Simple. So let us just have a look at it from the module and then we will do what? Disclosure requirements. ठीक है? तो valuation में क्या देखेंगे? What is the company's process of arriving at what? Allowance, है ना? He'll obtain the aging report कि कितना पुराना है. 30 days old hai, 30 to 60 days, 60 to 180 days, 180 to 365 and more than 365 days. And student, we will see when we'll be doing disclosure, there are certain changes in the disclosure requirement which are given by the amended schedule 3. So we will consider that also. List of debtors देखना है under litigation, compare them with the previous year, scrutinize the analysis, है ना? Detail में देखो आप, identify करो कि कुछ doubtful लग रहा है क्या, discuss with the management as to the reasons why these debtors are not included as provisions for bad debt. Dispute exist करता है तो further testing करो. Recoverability of appropriate rate पे है या नहीं, है ना? Schedules of movement of bad debts, accounts, debts written off, ratio of bad debt expend to sales, current year, previous year, write off है, it should be by the appropriate authority. Clear? Simple है? Okay. Then what are the disclosure requirements? The way we have done the disclosure requirement with respect to foreign currency loan also, है ना, कि AS 11 के according whether the same has been restated at the value as is required by AS 11. So here also in case of any foreign currency trade receivable, whether that has been done in terms of AS 11. ठीक है? Related party transaction है which has been if any debtor is a related party, then disclosure as required in AS 18 or your Ind AS 24, and ensure that transactions with parties covered under section 189 are properly reported in CARU 2020. Now, what is CARU 2020? Companies Auditors Report Order 2020, and this we will be doing in detail in chapter number 10. Hana? So, in this report order, it requires the auditor to mention in his report if any of the transaction are covered under section 189. Okay. So basically section 189 is what? It is register of contracts, arrangements in which directors are interested. So if directors are interested, if any such transaction has happened during the year, then in that case there is a separate reporting required under CARU 2020. I told you कि chapter number 10 में detail में पढ़ेंगे, but auditor will have to consider that. ठीक है? Now with respect to the disclosure requirements, whether the disclosure as required in schedule 3 part 1 to the Companies Act has been made. Trade receivable aging schedule, very, very important. You may get a question that this so and so is the client who are conducting the audit of XYZ Limited. And what disclosure requirement with respect to trade receivable aging schedule should XYZ Limited mention in the books of accounts? So, see, trade receivable aging schedule. Aging schedule से क्या पता चलेगा कितना age है debtors का, कितना पुराना debtor है. बहुत पुराना debtor है, then what is the reason? प्रोविजन बनाया है या नहीं, उसको बैड डेट की तरह राइट ऑफ तो नहीं करना, वो कोई फेक डेटर तो नहीं है. सो बेसिकली सी डेटर्स में आपके फंड्स ब्लॉक्ड हो जाते हैं ना. सो हियर द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ द क्लाइंट इज रिक्वायर्ड टू गिव इन देयर नोट्स बाय देमसेल्व्स कि देखो ये हमारा ट्रेड रिसीवेबल एजिंग शेड्यूल है, एंड देन द ऑडिटर विल बी वेरीफाइंग दैट. ठीक है. सो amount which is outstanding for following periods from the due date of payment. जो भी due date है वहां से credit sales है ना, तो whenever is the due date from there, any of the trade receivable, see trade receivable, these are divided into 4 categories है ना, and time period क्या है, which is due for less than 6 months. तो due from the date of sales नहीं, from the date of due date. ठीक है. 6 months to 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 years and more than 3 years and the total amount. ठीक है. यहां पर आपको the management is required to mention what? Undisputed trade receivable, जिसपे कोई dispute नहीं है amount पे, payment पे, which are good. And undisputed trade receivable but which are what? Doubtful, कि पता नहीं आएगा या नहीं, है ना. तो अगर कोई more than 3 years है, देखो अगर कोई undisputed है and these are good but फिर भी ये more than 3 years है, तो how can that be possible? है ना. Is it a fake debtor? Disputed trade receivable है, amount पे कोई dispute है, but though it is good, that is receive हो जाएगा. Disputed trade receivable है, which is considered doubtful. So all these figures are to be given along with the total. Now what is the so it was mentioned what? Which are outstanding for the following period from the due date. ठीक है. Similar information shall be given where no due date of payment is specified. In that case, the disclosure should be from the date of the transaction. And in case of any unbilled dues, they should be disclosed separately, whereby the billing has not been yet done. ठीक है. Sales effect हो गए, but billing has not been done. That is also to be mentioned. Trade receivable shall be classified as secured, considered good, unsecured, considered good, and doubtful. Allowance, that is provision for bad and doubtful debt, shall be disclosed under the relevant head separately. Debts due by the directors or other officers of the company or any of them severally or jointly with any other person, है ना. जो भी debt due from the directors or the officers of the company or any firm or private company whereby the director is a partner or a director or the member should be separately stated. ठीक है. तो कोई भी amount trade receivable debtor which is due where the debtor is whom either the director or the officer of the company, है ना. या कोई भी firm private company जहां पर वो director is a partner or is a director or a member in case of a what? Partnership firm. फर्म लिखा है ना, फर्म में डायरेक्टर क्या होगा? मेंबर. और प्राइवेट कंपनी के लिए क्या है? डायरेक्टर. ठीक है. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो टू बी डिस्क्लोज्ड सेपरेटली. सो दीज वर द डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू व्हाट? ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स. इज इट क्लियर? हाँ तो more than 3 years में आ गया ना प्रणव वो, ठीक है? Is it clear? Students, send in your replies whether the debtors discussion is clear or not. Now I'll do one thing. I'll take up the doubt of who was the student, Aman, I suppose. So there is a doubt with respect to sweat equity shares. We will do that. After that, we will be doing MCQs till where we have covered, and then we'll be starting with cash and cash equivalents. So he has asked me to repeat this point. So sweat equity shares में section 54 में we have seen that they should be of class of shares which have already been issued, and certain conditions specified in section 54 should be fulfilled. Auditor needs to verify that. And one of the conditions is what? So it basically says the right, limitations, restrictions and provisions as applicable to equity shares shall be applicable to sweat equity shares issued under this section, and the holders of such shares shall rank pari passu with other equity shareholders. It basically says, देखो sweat equity shares क्या होते हैं? Equity shares ही तो होते हैं ना, जो आप एम्प्लॉइज या डायरेक्टर्स को एट अ डिस्काउंट और फॉर कंसिडरेशन अदर देन कैश देते हो फॉर देयर वैल्यू एडिशन, ठीक है? सो दिस पॉइंट इज सेइंग जो राइट स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स के होंगे ना, दे विल बी इक्वलेंट टू जो आप इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स के राइट है. मतलब अगर आप इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को यू आर गिविंग डिविडेंड तो द सेम विल बी गिवन टू देम ऑल्सो. So same rights, same limitations, same restrictions, same provision, and the legal term is what? They shall rank pari passu, है ना? Same ranking पे होंगे वो to the equity shareholders. ठीक है? Aman, is it clear? I think it was your doubt. ठीक है? Now let me just share the screen of your. Just a minute. ठीक है? Quickly now, be with me. Many of you were asking me to share certain MCQs. Tell me, answer to first question. Ensuring that inventory balance of the client as at the year end does not include element of next financial year. This addresses which assertion? Is it a valuation assertion, cutoff assertion, rights and obligation assertion, or presentation and disclosure assertion? So write one and the relevant answer. So Pranav, you are right. Acha, many of you have answered. Piyush, Alok, Jyoti, Pritika, Dhruvi, Khojima. Ensuring that inventory balance of the client as at the year end does not include element of next financial year, that is inventory that is appearing pertains to the correct accounting period. So this is what cutoff assertion. So the answer is B. Okay. Answer the second question. The securities premium account may be applied by the company for various purposes. Which of the following is the correct option in this regard? Students, read the question carefully. यहाँ पर incorrect भी हो सकता था. Then your answer would have been different. So this is what correct option कौन सा है? So first is towards the issue of unissued shares of the company to the members of the company as fully paid up shares, bonus shares, for the purchase of its own share or other securities under section 68, in writing of the preliminary expenses of the company, in providing for the premium payable on the redemption of any redeemable preference shares or any debentures of the company. So what is the answer? Please send in your replies. And the point 1A says 1 and 2 are correct. B says 1, 2 and 3 are correct. C says 2nd and 4 are correct, and D says all of the above. Such type of questions can always confuse you. So read it, Hana. And what is the way? Keep on reading these points and marking it as correct or incorrect here also, so that you can answer to these options. Piyush, check your answer. So students, send in your replies. I'm waiting for your answers. So Aman, Dhruvi, Jyoti, Pranav, Chitala, Alok, Pritika. Your answers are correct. Rest of you, please check again. Please read this question again. So see, towards the issue of the unissued shares of the company to the members as fully paid up winner shares, ये तो correct है. For purchase of its own shares and other securities under section 68, ये भी correct है. In writing of the preliminary expenses of the company, this is also correct. In providing for the premium payable on redemption of any redeemable preference shares or debentures, this is also correct. So all of the above. So the answer is what? D. Let me just take you through the module so that you can see as to where this is given. So what was the question relating to securities premium, है ना? So देखो, buyback बोला था, ये वाला option है. Redemption of shares में premium payable ये वाला option भी था. Issue of unissued shares ये भी था. Writing of ये भी था, है ना? So now you have answered it correctly. Good. ठीक है? Now the third question. So I'll do one thing. Which of the following statement is, अब यहाँ पर क्या है, not correct. ठीक है? With respect to issue of sweat equity shares, section 54, है ना? The sweat equity shares issued by the company. Students, I hope you all are able to view the Word file. Dhyanesh, is it clear now? The sweat equity shares issued by the company should be of the class of shares that are already issued by the company. ठीक है? The issue should be authorized by an ordinary resolution passed by the company. The rights, limitations, restrictions, and provisions as applicable to equity shares shall be applicable to sweat equity shares issued under this section, and the holders of such share shall rank pari passu with other equity shareholders. The resolutions specify the number of shares, the current market price, consideration if any, and the class or classes of directors or employees to whom such equity shares are to be issued. Tell me what is the correct answer, and please don't be in a hurry. है ना? ध्यान से रीड करो. क्वेश्चन को भी, ऑप्शंस को तो देखना ही है ध्यान से, बट व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड इन द क्वेश्चन, दैट इज टू बी रेड केयरफुली. दैट इज ऑल्सो टू बी रेड केयरफुली. Yes, Chitala, you are correct. Jyoti is correct. Yatiraj is correct. है ना? Hemlata, Dhruvi, Alok, Khojema, Piyush. Rest of you, please check your answer. So I'm calling out the names of the students who are correct. है ना? So जिसका भी name नहीं आया, please check your answer again and send in your replies again. Priyanka, Pranav, Dhyanesh, correct. ठीक है? So the sweat equity shares issued by the company should be of the class of share which has already been issued. This is correct. The issue should be authorized only by an ordinary resolution. This is not correct. So this is what? Incorrect. So the answer is what? C. Rights and limitations shall rank pari passu. ये भी correct है. Resolution should specify the number of shares. This is also correct. Students, please take your answer. Khushi, why are you writing this answer? See, it is given here now. So it should be of the class of shares which have already been issued, है ना? ये भी हमने यहाँ पर देखा. This is the option, ठीक है? But it should be passed by what? Special resolution. और हमने वहां क्या लिखा हुआ है? Ordinary resolution. Otherwise तो the resolution should specify ये वाला point भी है, which is correct, and they shall rank pari passu, ये भी correct है. Fourth question. and ensuring that recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customer and are dispatched and invoiced in the period addresses the following assertion. Is it occurrence? Is it cutoff? Is it measurement or presentation and disclosure? Like, I'm not saying these are correct. I'm waiting for your replies. Students, check your answers. दो ऑप्शंस कैसे हो सकते हैं पीयूष? Let me just give you a hint. Now read it from here. देखो कंप्लीटनेस में कीवर्ड क्या होता है? ऑल ट्रांजैक्शंस हैव बीन इंक्लूडेड. कट ऑफ में क्या होता है? करेक्ट अकाउंटिंग पीरियड, है ना? ऐसे मेजरमेंट में that transactions are accurately recorded at the appropriate amounts. Presentation and disclosure you all know, है ना? Occurrence में see this example. Recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customers and were dispatched and invoiced in the period. So the option is what? A. Now you have answered it correctly. Any doubt? Let me just show you the question again. So देखो, ensuring that recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customers and were dispatched and invoiced in the period addresses the following assertion. देखो कट ऑफ में तो हम क्या बोलते हैं? करेक्ट अकाउंटिंग पीरियड में आना चाहिए. मेजरमेंट में मेजरमेंट प्रॉपर हो. प्रेजेंटेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर इज क्लासिफाइड, एग्रीगेशन सेग्रीगेशन ये सब हो. सेग्रीगेशन और डिसएग्रीगेशन. अकरेंस में क्या है कि वैलिड कस्टमर्स हो, दैट इज इट हैज actually occurred during the year. So the answer is what? A. Students, don't get confused, Hana. Which of the following is not an example of your revenue reserves? Fifth question. Are you able to answer the questions? थोड़ा सा confidence आ रहा है chapter पे? Answer to fifth question also. Which of the following is not an example of revenue reserve? CRR, general reserve, credit balance of P&L, reserve free for distribution as dividend. ये तो सबने correct answer किया. So the answer is what? A. ठीक है? So tell me, are you able to answer the questions or on your own? ठीक है? Alok, your doubt is, or whatever you are saying is not clear to me. Please write it again. ठीक है? And Jyoti, that is good. She has secured 5 out of 5. Priyanka is also able to answer on her own. And each and every line in your study material is important. You may get any true false MCQ out of any line, है ना? तो आप ऐसे नहीं छोड़ सकते कि मैंने valuation के लिए I have learned 5 points, I have understood 5 points. नहीं, rest also you need to understand, है ना? And students, I'm repeating it again and again because students have a tendency to go after cramming the general points, है ना। तो बेटर क्या है कि ठीक है, यू शुड बी एबल टू आंसर एनी टॉपिक विच वी हैव नॉट डिस्कस्ड, है ना। एजर्शंस का टॉपिक क्लियर है, यू कैन ऑलवेज आंसर द क्वेश्चंस इजीली, है ना। एंड द टॉपिक्स दैट वी आर डिस्कसिंग ये आपको ऑलरेडी आते हैं, व्हाई? बिकॉज अकाउंटिंग क्लियर है आपका, लॉ क्लियर है आपके, स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग क्लियर है, तो आपको उसी को तो देखना है ना कैसे लिखना है, और उसके लिए यू नीड टू गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल एंड लिसन टू दीज session. So Aman, that is good. ठीक है. Now from the next time, please read the MCQs carefully, because क्या होता है कि हम question ही read नहीं करते हैं. What is asked, whether it is correct or incorrect, है ना? Like which of the following statement is correct, which of the following is incorrect. Read the question also carefully apart from the options. अच्छा, ठीक है. Alok, it is good. ठीक है. That you are able to answer for out of these 5 questions on your own. ठीक है. Now cash and cash equivalent, again it is what? It is one of the asset side item. ठीक है. Now tell me, cash and cash equivalents, cash का अगर आपको ऑडिट करना है, what comes to your mind? कैश को ऑडिट कर रहे हो तो क्या स्पेसिफिक फीचर है, वेरीफाई करना है आपको कैश एक्चुअल में एग्जिस्ट करता है या नहीं, है ना। क्या करोगे आप? This concept you must have done when we were discussing, you have done chapter number 2, है ना, जहां ऑडिट प्रोग्राम किया था, वहां पर देयर वाज अ पॉइंट दैट यू शुड नॉट रिवील ईच एंड एवरीथिंग टू द मैनेजमेंट, है ना। That when you discuss the audit program, it should not undermine the validity of the audit procedures that are to be performed by the auditor. So tell me, कैश को जब वेरीफाई करना है आपको, so there should be element of dash checking while you are verifying the cash balance. Quickly send in your replies. There should be element of what? Surprise checking, है ना। ठीक है. So cash and cash equivalents, तो इसके अंदर क्या आएगा? कैश इन हैंड तो आएगा ही. If you have certain checks in hand, आपके कुछ फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स हैं, है ना, you have your bank accounts, and that too in the form of current account. ठीक है. So कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस, देखो हाईली लिक्विड है ना ये, एंड स्टूडेंट्स दे आर व्हाट? prone to misappropriation. ऐसा हो सकता है ना that the cashier has used the company's cash for his personal purpose, and when he got to know that the auditor is coming to check the cash, so he has put that cash back again in that cash, है ना, so that when the auditor counts, it is equal to the amount that is getting reflected in the cash book, right? So it is very much prone to misappropriation, because आप कोई कैश को जब आप वैसे भी जब आप कैश को काउंट करो, कोई स्टैम्प थोड़ी ना लगाओगे आप, ठीक है. सो दैट इज व्हाई I have asked you कि what should be present. So element of surprise checking, ठीक है. अगर आप 31st March को भी चेक कर रहे हो, then after that also go for a surprise visit to check the cash, है ना. And students, cash balance can be what? It can be in the form of petty cash. It can be in the form of like branch cashier are also there. ठीक है. और इम्प्रेस्ड सिस्टम भी तो होता है ना एम्प्लॉइज के साथ. व्हाट इज दिस इम्प्रेस्ड सिस्टम? दैट सर्टेन अमाउंट, सर्टेन कैश इज गिवन टू अ पर्सन, दैट इज ही मेक्स वेरियस पेमेंट्स आउट ऑफ दिस. जैसे पेटी कैशियर को भी इसी ने पे कर दिया, या टेम्परेरी लाइक वेजेस आर गिवन, सो ही पे फॉर दैट ऑल्सो. एंड this amount is then refunded, or you can say it is then reimbursed कि ठीक है इसको 10,000 आपका impress system है, तो जैसे ही 5,000 हुआ again he'll get another 5,000. So it might be possible now that petty cash is kept with someone else. There are different branch cashier, impressed balances with someone else. Tell me, is it advisable to check all these simultaneously? Is it advisable to check them simultaneously? Obviously yes, ठीक है ना? Because it should not happen that आपने petty cashier से let's say 28th March को checking किया, यही वाला cash 29th March को branch cashier को दे दिया गया है to in order to make that cash available with the branch cashier equal to the cash that is appearing in the cash book, and 29th को let's say 30th March को वही impressed में ना रखा हो, तो check them simultaneously. Logical है ना बहुत, ठीक है? So ऐसे ही कुछ logical points है, let us have a look at it. So cash in hand, balance with bank in current account, margin money account, cash credit account, FDs, check in hand, these are liquid assets, readily convertible to cash, prone to misappropriation. तो क्या apply करना है? Professional skepticism, ठीक है? Audit procedures, existence, completeness के लिए क्या देखोगे? Special care should be given with respect to verification of cash, that is surprise element should be there. And if there are more than one cash balance, like cashier is there, petty cashier is there, branch cashiers are there, and impressed balance is there, then it should be checked what simultaneously. And students, देखो बहुत logical है. When the auditor is counting the cash, the cashier should be present now. Otherwise क्या होगा अगर there is some shortage of fund, है ना, shortage of cash की बुक में तो आ रहा था 10,000 है. Now when the auditor is counting, it is what 7,000. Cash, if no cashier is not present, he may always say na that it must have been misplaced by the auditor himself, है ना. So cashier should be present and he should be made to sign the statement so prepared, and auditor will also check how much denomination, है ना, कितना like 100K notes हैं या what denomination of the currency is available, ठीक है? Then on a daily basis, when the entries of cash are made in rough cash book, check them with the cash book. If any temporary advances are given to employees, auditor needs to see whether these are authorized and properly recorded. Auditor will perform cash sensitivity analysis. Ab you may get a question to write a short note on cash sensitivity analysis. So if you have not studied, you will not be able to write the correct answer, but you will be surprised to see कि कितना simple है. Cash sensitivity analysis क्या करना है auditor को? He'll compile the summary of total cash receipts and payments month wise. He'll analyze the trend, he'll compare, and in case of any variation, he'll request a brief description from the management. देखो, these are the keywords. You will use connecting words and then you will make it for a 3-marker question. Cash sensitivity analysis, है ना? During each and every month during the year, he will compare कि कितना cash receipts था, कितना payment था, trend को will analyze. तो ARP कर रहा है ना, analytical review procedure as per SFI 20. In case of any variation, management से discuss करेंगे, simple. And many of you were saying कि bank reconciliation statement को भी verify करना है. ठीक है? Now, if I ask you, if I give you a question that so and so, you are the auditor of XYZ Limited, and you have been asked, or you are a team member of the audit team of XYZ Limited, and you have been asked by your engagement partner to verify the bank reconciliation statement. तो अब आपने फाउंडेशन में सब पढ़ा है ना कि बैंक रिकंसिलिएशन स्टेटमेंट में क्या क्या लाइन आइटम्स होते हैं. सो यू विल मेंशन अबाउट ऑल दोस लाइन आइटम्स ना, कि ये वाला लाइन आइटम ठीक से चेक करना है, ये वाला लाइन आइटम्स ठीक से चेक करना है ना. सो वेरी इजी, वी विल हैव अ लुक एट इट फ्रॉम द मॉड्यूल. सो लेट अस हैव अ लुक एट द कैश वेरिफिकेशन from the module till where we have covered. Students, quickly send in your replies. समझ आ रहा है, easy लग रहा है? Because this chapter is very easy, provided you listen to this session with concentration. And we are going through the lines that are the keywords that are given in your module. So remembering all these points should be very easy to you. Because अब आप जो पढ़ रहे हो, you are doing it after understanding it, है ना? So, existence, अगर देखना है ना, सो व्हाट ऑल ऑडिटर विल एंड द कंप्लीटनेस, ठीक है, बहुत लॉजिकल है। हमने क्या बोला, स्पेशल केयर देना है, क्या, that there should be element of surprise. Why? Because unless they are checked by surprise, there can be no certainty that cash produced in inspection was in fact held by the custodian, है ना, तो सरप्राइज चेक होना चाहिए। For this reason, cash should be checked not only on the last day of the year, but also checked after some time, at some time after the close of the year, without giving notice of the auditor's visit either to the entity or his staff. That is surprise check. If more than one cash balances are there, like cashiers, petty cashier branch, or impressed balance, all of them should be checked simultaneously, so that the shortage in one balance is not made good by the transfer of amount from others. Simple. And cashier should be present while it is been counted, and he should be made to sign the statement containing the details of the balance along with the denomination. If he is absent at the time the cash has been verified, he may hold the auditor responsible for shortage if any. कितना लॉजिकल है ना। रफ कैश बुक है, उसको कैश बुक से कंपेयर करो। इफ ऑडिटर फाइंड्स एनी चिट, आई ओ, दिस इज व्हाट आई ओ यू, है ना। सो व्हेन टेम्परेरी एडवांसेस आर गिवन टू दिस, let's say the workers, है ना, some temporary advances are given, so they are made to sign these IOU slip कि we, like I owe some, for example worker Ram is there, so he's signing a receipt that I owe the company 10,000 rupees, है ना। So such slips or sub chits may be available. In that case, auditor will have to see whether these are authorized and whether these are recorded at the appropriate amount, ठीक है ना। The auditor should also perform the cash sensitivity analysis. I told you ना कि 3 mark question आ सकता है। Compiling summary of total cash receipts, payments each month, analyzing the trend, variations देखना है, request brief description from the management. The auditor needs to obtain BRS. BRS, अच्छा अभी ये हम discuss करते हैं। अब now with respect to the verification of BRS. So first of all, with respect to all bank accounts, auditor will obtain the banking reconciliation statement as has been prepared by whom? By the management. See, preparing BRS is basically one of the internal control that has been put by the management. So auditor will obtain what? BRS statement for all the bank accounts that are maintained by the management. Okay? And he'll understand the client's process and periodicity of making the BRS. Half yearly hai, yearly, like kaise they are preparing the BRS. It should be signed by the authorized person, ठीक है, and he should perform following steps. So देखो सबसे पहले तो जो पासबुक में आपका बैलेंस आ रहा है उसको कंपेयर करोगे ना कन्फर्मेशन से या स्टेटमेंट से, सिंपल। Then see, there is a line item, check issued but not presented, है ना। So auditor will consider the bank statement of the subsequent period ना, कि अभी तो they are what, check are issued but these are not presented for payment. So these may have been presented in the, these may have been cleared by the bank in the subsequent period. So auditor will check the statement of the subsequent period, है ना। In case of the stale checks, stale क्या होते हैं? When the checks are old for 3 months or more, है ना, since their issue date, so they'll become what? Stale. So in that case, such amount should go back to liabilities ना, वो दोबारा से आपका liability हो गया ना, ठीक है। In case of check deposited but not credited by bank, again auditor will see what? See, checks have been deposited but these are not credited by banks. तो अब deposit slips देख लो, अब subsequent year का जो आपका bank statement है उससे tally कर लो, ठीक है। If any of the checks is not cleared beyond a reasonable time, ask the management what is the reason, है ना। Revenue recognition के according why the same has not been considered. Ask the management. In case of any material, checking of all material reconciling, see if any amounts have been debited, है ना, कोई credit है, कोई debit है जो bank has done but the client has not considered, ask the management to consider that. Simple है ना। तो जब आपको BRS के line items पढ़ता है, you can always write the verification process, ठीक है। Is it clear? Clear? ठीक है। डायरेक्ट कंफर्मेशन प्रोसीजर बहुत सिंपल है है ना, ये हमने डेटर्स में डिटेल में पढ़ा है, तो आई विल क्विकली टेक यू थ्रू इट. So auditor will obtain it for with respect to all the accounts, current accounts हैं, deposit accounts है. EEFC क्या होता है? Quickly send in your replies. So it is what? Exchange earners foreign currency account. So basically, these are the accounts maintained in foreign currency with the authorized dealer, the banks who are authorized to deal in foreign currency. So the client may have such accounts, so auditor will obtain a confirmation with respect to all the accounts, current account, deposit account, EEFC, cash, credits, है ना, everything. Then in case of any discrepancy, like the balance that is appearing in the confirmation vis-a-vis the balance that is appearing in the books of the client, auditor will ask the company to investigate. Explanation लेंगे, unresolved queries हैं तो they will take further actions. They'll perform what? Additional testing. If no reply is received, देखो it might be possible that the bank is not giving you the reply. तो क्या करना है? देखो बहुत simple है. Then the bank statement that the client is having, try to agree the balance to that bank statement, ठीक है? Or ask the management कि management in front of me, please take out the online bank statement. इंटरनेट बैंकिंग के थ्रू आप ऑनलाइन लॉग इन करके मेरे सामने इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑडिटर्स पर्सनल प्रेजेंस ask them to take out the online bank statement. Simple. Or the other option is the bank is not replying now. Then you may send any of your team member along with the management's personnel, client personnel to the bank branch to get the confirmation from the bank. ठीक है? Sending audit team member to the bank branch along with the entity's personnel to obtain the balance confirmation from the bank directly. Simple है? ठीक है? Is it clear? Simple है ना? Valuation का क्या है? ऊपर वाले प्रोसीजर्स तो परफॉर्म करना ही करना है. ऑडिटर विल सी दैट एज पर AS 11 if any of the amount is been held in foreign currency, then whether it is restated as per the applicable financial reporting framework, that is AS 11. ठीक है? कोई डाउट है? नहीं है. ठीक है? डिस्क्लोजर भी बहुत सिंपल है. अगेन, ensure whether the following disclosures as required under schedule 3 part 1 to the companies act have been made. Cash and cash equivalents, it shall be classified as balances with bank checks, drafts, cash on hand, others. Earmarked balances with bank shall be separately stated. Earmarked हमने कहाँ किया था? When we were discussing reserves, है ना? Earmarked क्या होता है? Reserved. अगर आपने कोई पैसा reserve किया हुआ है for a specific purpose, like any amount has been kept aside as unpaid dividend, तो that is not free as such. ना, you have reserved it, है ना? तो that is to be shown separately. Balances with bank that are kept as margin money or security against the borrowing or guarantees or other commitment shall be disclosed separately. वो भी आपने specific पर्पस के लिए एज अ गारंटी या एज अ मार्जिन मनी रखा हुआ है तो उसको भी सेपरेटली शो करेंगे. रिपैट्रिएशन रिस्ट्रिक्शंस इफ एनी इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ कैश एंड बैंक बैलेंसेस शैल बी सेपरेटली डिस्क्लोज. रिपैट्रिएशन क्या होता है? when you are converting, when the client is converting foreign currency into local currency, है ना? Into local currency, INR में. So if there any restriction, then that is also need to be stated separately. And bank deposits with more than 12 months maturity shall be disclosed. Deposits shall be disclosed separately, like your deposits in the form of FDs that have a maturity of more than 12 months, then that need to be disclosed separately. So you may get a question that you are conducting the audit of so and so company and you have been asked by the engagement partner to verify the disclosure requirements with respect to cash and cash equivalents, है ना? Or you may get a question with respect to your direct confirmation procedures, है ना? या verification of your BRS, है ना? बहुत logical है, simple है, but पढ़ना पड़ेगा. उसके बिना आप general answers नहीं लिख सकते. ठीक है? आप सोचो कि ठीक है assertions ऐसे हैं तो we will write existence के लिए यही करना है. ठीक है, you can make summaries, but first go through the module, listen to these lectures, you will be able to answer each and every point quickly in your exam, है ना? सोचने में टाइम मिलेगा because you have already have had the discussions in this session and you have already gone through the modules. Okay? Is it clear? Is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. Is there any doubt? Okay? Now we'll be starting with the next item that appears in the asset side of the balance sheet, which is what? Inventories. Inventories. Okay? So quickly send in your replies. Any doubts? Actually, we will be doing it from the module itself. So tell me, students, when I ask you, so, chalo good. So when I ask you about inventory, है ना? तो अपना जितना भी अकाउंटिंग का नॉलेज है ना, प्लीज टेल मी क्या माइंड में आता है, कौन सा अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड आता है? क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज. So Chitala, that is why it is written with respect to a query. See, read it carefully. Others, please reply. Anna, it is saying that balances with banks to the extent held as margin money, security against the borrowings, guarantees, and other commitments, they shall be disclosed separately because as such these are not free now. So they shall be disclosed separately. Separately आप disclose करोगे यहाँ पर. You will mention that इतना amount has been held in this account for what? Margin money. ठीक है? Is it clear? So yes. Inventory के लिए क्या mind में आता है? AS2, valuation of inventories, which says that it should be lower of cost or net realizable value. ठीक है? For the students, inventories are what? These are current assets. It can be held for sale in the ordinary course of business, that is of finished goods. Or these can be held for the process of production of sale, that is as work in progress. Or for consumption in the production of goods and services for sale, that is as raw material. है ना? आपका इन्वेंट्री फिनिश गुड्स, वर्किंग प्रोग्रेस, रॉ मटेरियल का हो सकता है. एंड वैल्यूएशन ऑफ इन्वेंट्री AS2 के अकॉर्डिंग क्या है? लोअर ऑफ कॉस्ट और NRV. ठीक है? नाउ टेल मी व्हाट ऐसे नंबर कम्स टू योर माइंड. अभी तो आपने AS बताया ना, अब बताओ इन्वेंट्री के लिए कहां पड़ा है? क्विकली टेल मी. SA है ना? टुडे वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू कंप्लीट द इन्वेंट्री, बट हाँ, a major chunk we will discuss. Students, quickly send in your replies. SA में पढ़ा है and I have taken that chapter. देखो अब तो कितना सिंपल हो गया ना, मैंने आपको हिंट दे दिया. मैंने तो चैप्टर नंबर 3 पढ़ा है ये आपको. Students, I am repeating it again. Don't write incorrect SA numbers. नहीं आता मत लिखो. ठीक है? Incorrect तो मत लिखो. So चिताला, शिव आलोक, you both are correct. SA 501 है ना? इन्वेंट्री का वहां पढ़ा. ठीक है? Further, tell me whose responsibility is the to perform the inventory count. It is whose responsibility? It is the management or is it the auditor to perform the inventory count? Students, quickly I need answers. कौन किसकी responsibility है to perform the inventory count? So students are now writing, ma'am, we don't remember the essay. So start going through now the module. It is the responsibility of the management. So what is the responsibility of the auditor with respect to the inventory? Management is responsible for getting the inventory counted. So it is the responsibility of the auditor to dash the inventory count. बताओ क्या आएगा? Fill in the blank. Responsibility of the auditor to dash the inventory count. Procedure conducted by client, है ना? And go back to your memories of chapter number 3. Remember? Remember, this was our auditor. This was the management. These were the management's personnel, like client's personnel who are conducting. And this was my stock. है ना? देखो अब इसको ध्यान से देखना. So it is the responsibility of the auditor. किसी ने भी ना exactly आंसर नहीं दिया है. अब देखो, auditor, it is the responsibility of the auditor to answer it correctly ना. बहुत simple है. The first word, to attend the inventory count. ठीक है, ये ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं. तो मैनी ऑफ यू आर सेइंग लुक ओवर तो करना ही है, पर अटेंड करना है ना. ठीक है, अब देखो इसी डायग्राम से ना पूरा इन्वेंट्री का समझते हैं. एंड इन्वेंट्री, इफ यू रिमेंबर, आई गेव यू होमवर्क ऑफ assertions, है ना. And there the examples that are given in income statement assertion and balance sheet captions is in balance sheet caption the example of inventory is given. तो जिसने वो रीड किया है ना एज अ होमवर्क, एंड जिसने भी ये टॉपिक मेरे से चैप्टर नंबर 3 में समझा है, फॉर दैट पर्सन मेजर चंक ऑफ इन्वेंटरी इज ऑलरेडी डन. ठीक है, तो ऑडिटर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू अटेंड. अब ऑडिटर क्या देखेगा? ऑडिटर ने जब अटेंड किया इन्वेंटरी काउंट को, है ना, ऑडिटर विल सी कि मैनेजमेंट जो है, देखो पूरा ऑब्जर्व करना है ना पूरे प्रोसेस को, है ना. ऑडिटर टेस्ट काउंट भी करेगा ना. रिमेंबर, यही सारे प्रोसीजर्स हैं. ठीक है, तो आज हम यही डिस्कस करते हैं. मॉड्यूल से नेक्स्ट सेशन में देखेंगे. ऑडिटर और क्या देखेगा कि कोई सुपरवाइज कर भी रहा है या सिर्फ ये आ गए हैं मैनेजमेंट पर्सोनल, और मैनेजमेंट इज देयर टू सुपरवाइज इट, है ना. ऑडिटर विल सी वेदर दीज इन्वेंटरीज आर प्रॉपरली टैग्ड. टैग्ड का क्या मतलब है? प्रॉपर उस पे स्टिकर्स या कुछ लगे हुए हैं जहां पे द नेम, व्हाट इज कंटेन्ड, द डेट, है ना, द क्वांटिटी, एवरीथिंग इज मेंशन्ड. सो वेदर दीज आर टैग्ड और नॉट, है ना. और जो भी इन लोगों ने फिजिकल इन्वेंटरी काउंट के डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, कंपेयर करेगा ना ऑडिटर इसको, फिर इन्हीं डॉक्यूमेंट्स को फाइनल इन्वेंटरी काउंट से भी कंपेयर करेगा. If there is some discrepancy, auditor will discuss the same with the management. इतना क्लियर है? क्लियर है, ठीक है. If inventory is lying with third party, tell me, if my client is ABC Limited, है ना, ABC Limited has given this inventory to a third party for job work, है ना. Let's say MNO Limited को दिया है कुछ उसके ऊपर काम करने के लिए. Tell me whether this inventory will be included in the total inventory of ABC Limited. I need answers, yes or no, quickly. Inventory, my client is ABC Limited. Inventory of ABC Limited is aligned with MNO Limited for job work purpose. So that whether that shall be included. So basically, I'm talking about what completeness assertion here, है ना? अरे, and please reply. ठीक है. So yes, Alok has answered it correctly. Pritika, Pranav, Dhyanesh, Jyoti, Priyanka, Chitala, that is absolutely correct. Yes, it should be included. ठीक है. Now tell me if any of the inventory of MNO Limited is lying with ABC Limited for some job work purpose. Tell me, will the inventory that belongs to MNO Limited but that has been given to ABC Limited for job work purpose, whether that will be allowed, and write your answer 2 and the answer so that I don't get confused. So answer to 1 is yes. Now write 2 and the answer. So second question is inventory of third party MNO Limited that has been given to ABC Limited for some job work purpose, whether that will be included in the inventory of ABC Limited. Quickly, I need answers 2 and the answer. So yes, Khojema, Jyoti, Yatira, Dhyanesh, Alok, Dhruvi, absolutely correct. No. So this is about what? Completeness assertion. ठीक है? Tell me if inventory of ABC Limited is lying with MNO Limited or it is kept in a warehouse. है ना? तो tell me what can I obtain from this warehouse keeper? Quickly tell me the SA number and the name. ठीक है? Quickly send in your reply. So the answer is what? 505 external confirmation. कि warehouse बताओ. और ये कहाँ पर लिखा है? ऐसे 501 में mention था ना? Inventory lying with the third party. Last topic of inventory in under SA 501 है ना? Also students, when the auditor is observing, है ना? हमने क्या बोला? आप test count करो. ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है ना कि ये these cartons which are kept, these are either empty, या the stock is obsolete, या damaged है. So auditor needs to be alert to all these things. और वो कैसे? Auditor can always perform what? Test count. ठीक है? Further, if I ask you what analytical review procedures auditor can perform with respect to inventory, SA 520. Analytical review procedures. Inventory turnover ratio देख सकते हैं ना? ठीक है? Inventory turnover ratio देख सकते हो ना? Cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory. Average inventory. ठीक है? You may consider the ratio in it is given by the name vertical analysis. Vertical analysis is what? When you are calculating the ratio of inventory by total assets and you compare it with the last year also, है ना? देख लोगे ना कि क्या variation है. ठीक है? If this ratio is less this year, that means inventory amount is less. That means it might not to be complete. ठीक है? सेम वे यू में कंपेयर द इन्वेंट्री विद द बजट ना. बजट में तो ज्यादा आ रही है, एक्चुअल में कम है, तो कभी ऐसा तो नहीं है कि इन्वेंट्री इज नॉट कंप्लीट, है ना? क्लियर? अरिथमेटिकल एक्यूरेसी चेक कर लोगे. राइट्स के लिए क्या देखोगे? राइट्स एंड ऑब्लिक राइट्स होंगे ना इन्वेंट्री के लिए, बिकॉज दिस इज एन एसेट. तो परचेज इनवॉइसेस देख लोगे ना, वेरियस अग्रीमेंट्स देख लोगे ना, है ना? 501 में जो आपको बताया गया है कि आप एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन ले लो. देखो 501 में बताया गया है कि आप एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऐसे 505 ले सकते हो, तो यू विल डू दैट, है ना? वैल्यूएशन के लिए ना, वी विल डिस्कस इट इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन. व्हाई? बिकॉज वैल्यूएशन में देयर इज समथिंग न्यू दैट यू मस्ट हैव डन इट इन योर अकाउंट्स, बट अभी वी हैवंट डिस्कस्ड इट, तो आई टेक दैट अप इन डिटेल. बिकॉज रॉ मटेरियल, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस एंड फिनिश गुड्स, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस एंड फिनिश गुड्स का अलग वैल्यूएशन दिया गया है, तो we will do that, though you will be doing it in your accounts also. ठीक है? Then again, जैसे aging of debtors लिया था, ऐसे aging of इन्वेंट्री भी तो देखेंगे ना. बिकॉज कोई इन्वेंट्री आपके पास बहुत सालों से पड़ी है, लेट्स से मोर देन 1 year, तो व्हाई इज इट स्लो मूविंग? इज इट ऑब्सोलीट? ऐसा तो नहीं है कि दिस इज ऑब्सोलीट. ठीक है? एंड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द डिस्क्लोजर, लेट अस हैव अ लुक एट इट फ्रॉम द मॉड्यूल. डिस्क्लोजर भी बहुत सिंपल है, देखो. So again, schedule 3 part 1 may auditor will see whether disclosure has been made. So inventory will be classified as raw material, work in progress, finished goods, stock in trade, goods acquired for trading, stores, spares, and loose tools and others. Whether goods in transit have been disclosed separately under each head of inventory, goods in transit, है ना? And mode of valuation. What is the mode of valuation? है ना? आपका FIFO है, weighted average है, what is it? ठीक है? So अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड अगर अभी डिटेल में नहीं किया है, बट इतना तो पता है ना कि अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड 2 क्या कहता है, कि कॉस्ट और एनआरबी विच एवर इज लोअर. एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट ये वाला टॉपिक आई विल बी टेकिंग अप इन डिटेल इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन. ठीक है प्रणव? So Priyanka, are you finding the speed fine or is it an issue? ठीक है. So students, I hope is it clear? See, inventory अभी I haven't done this as such in detail, है ना? Next session में we will be doing it in detail. We will be doing it from the module, and the topic, like I told you, valuation, which we haven't done, है ना. ये वाला जो बाकी सब था, we have done in 501, ऐसे 501, 505 में भी we have had the discussion. So all these topics also I'll touch upon. I'll take you through the module, but abhi I'm quickly discussing it to with you. Why? Because I want to give you an idea as to what is contained in inventory. ठीक है प्रियंका? So I hope the rest of the topics are clear. Because inventory के लिए अभी आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि आपको अच्छे से क्लियर है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. ठीक है, अभी हमने एक बहुत जनरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग लिया है. ठीक है, बिकॉज बिफोर स्टार्टिंग विद दिस टॉपिक ओनली आई टोल्ड यू दैट वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू कवर. ठीक है प्रियंका, इज इट क्लियर नाउ? ठीक है, सो let us have a look at what we have covered and what is expected out of you with respect to this chapter before you come for the next session, which is tomorrow only, Monday, 28th November. ठीक है, and evening session, that is 6 to 8:30. ठीक है, ठीक है. So Priyanka is saying, ma'am, topics are clear and speed is also fine. ठीक है, देखो नेक्स्ट सेशन में आने से पहले शेयर कैपिटल जिसने नहीं पढ़ा है, प्लीज डू दैट. रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लस भी प्लीज डू. एंड टुडे वी स्टार्टेड विद व्हाट? बोरोविंग्स. गो थ्रू इट. ठीक है, ठीक है प्रियंका, आई टेक केयर दैट क्वेश्चन आंसर पोर्शन में आई वेट फॉर योर आंसर्स. ठीक है, बट उसके लिए यू विल ऑल्सो हैव टू हेल्प मी दैट यू विल सेंड योर आंसर्स क्विकली, बिकॉज जब आप सेंड करते हो उसके बाद देर इज सम टाइम लैग, है ना. सो दैट इज वाई बिफोर यू आंसर इट आई ऑल्सो अनाउंस द आंसर. सो नेक्स्ट टाइम आई टेक केयर ऑफ दैट. So borrowings किया हमने, उसके बाद we started with balance sheet item. I told you that there is one liability side item left, which is trade payables. Most probably in the next session I'll be giving it to you as a homework. ठीक है, trade receivables we have done totally opposite of this, as in almost the procedures are same is what trade payables, है ना. तो जहां पर आप लिख रहे हो दैट सेल्स इनवॉइस चेक करना है, वहां पर अब आ जाएगा परचेज इनवॉइस, लाइक बेसिकली बायर्स कॉपी ऑफ द सेल्स इनवॉइस. ठीक है, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स किया, कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस किया. तो ये वाला सब तो आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग फ्रॉम यू दैट यू विल गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल इन डिटेल, है ना. एंड इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन ऑल्सो विल डिस्कस न्यू 5 MCQs. ठीक है, एंड यू शुड बी एबल टू आंसर द क्वेश्चंस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दीज टॉपिक्स इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन, द MCQs दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस. ठीक है, इन्वेंट्री का एक्सेप्ट फॉर वैल्यूएशन आई विल बी टेकिंग इन डिटेल इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन. Rest of the topics I want you all to read as a homework. Abhi I'm not saying that we have covered it, but I want you all to read it as a homework because this is a recap of what we have done in SA 501, SA 505. है ना. And we have seen the disclosure. हाँ, valuation के लिए I'm not asking you to even read it. I'll take this up. Other topics also we'll discuss, but before coming for the next session, which is tomorrow, please go through all these things which I have asked you, and you can leave the notes which are given after the share capital, which are given after the borrowing. I'll be taking them up most probably in the next session. Okay, so before leaving for the session, please students I'll like to request you, please start going through the module, Hana, and please do fill in the feedback forms that are available. Okay, and further please also let me know whether you have understood whatever we have done so far. ठीक है, keep on sharing your queries. If any of your queries is still unanswered, I'll definitely answer it in the next session, which is tomorrow itself. ठीक है, so thank you students for the patient listening. Please do send in your replies whether you have understood and fill in the feedback forms. Thank you and good night and see you tomorrow.